I think there's an aspect of it that's clearly has to do with one's own morality, because it's too easy to jump on that wagon of it's a disease and my brain's been hijacked.
But Robert wants to go in there, and they were talking about Clive Davis and all of that, and I was like, okay, great. They had an agenda.
Yeah.
Because remember, at the same time, they were calling me a wife beater and all of those things, and then I put out the video that broke me a little bit.
In a shocking revelation, Robert Downey Jr. claims that the music mogul Clive Davis forced him into betraying his former co-star, Terrence Howard.
I called him 27 times. And I'm like, and then leave a message. I'm calling his assistant. I'm like, I need the help I gave you. I didn't hear from him.
But why would a music industry legend be meddling in Hollywood business? The details are hazy, but the tension between the two actors after the Iron Man shakeup always seemed strange.
They wanted Clive Davis to play.
Or did Clive Davis use his powerful influence to manipulate Robert into backstabbing Terrence? Could blackmail or threats be behind this betrayal? Let's uncover the dark secrets that might have torn these stars apart.
But Robert wants to go in there, and they were talking about Clive Davis and all of that, and I was like, okay, great.
Robert Downey Jr. has finally lifted the veil on a Hollywood drama that has left fans and insiders alike buzzing for years. And it all goes back to one name no one saw coming, Clive Davis. Yes, Clive Davis, the iconic music mogul behind some of the biggest names in the music industry. So what does Clive Davis have to do with Terrence Howard's mysterious fall from grace in Hollywood? Let's rewind to the beginning, Iron Man 2008. Marvel was banking on the film's success to launch what would become one of the biggest franchises in cinematic history. Terrence Howard was right there at the start, playing James Rhodey Rhodes.
You know, I was doing Iron Man.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, you know, that gets taken away. We did a 3-picture deal with Marvel, a 3-picture deal, $4.5 million for the first one, $7.5 to $8 million for the second one, $12 million for the third. We signed it.
But when the sequel came around, Howard was gone, replaced by Don Cheadle. At the time, the official story was that it all boiled down to money. Howard himself confirmed that Marvel slashed his $8 million paycheck down to a measly $1 million, citing budget cuts.
We want Terrence, but we want to come back for $1 million instead of the $8 million that we had agreed to.
Howard fought back, his agent demanded justice, but Marvel wouldn't budge. They cast Cheadle, and that seemed to be the end of it.
And my agent had an emotional reaction to a business decision, and he said, F you, and hung up the phone.
But Robert Downey Jr. has just dropped a bombshell. The story is far murkier, and the real villain in this Hollywood tale may not have been Marvel Studios after all, but Clive Davis, a man who seemingly had no reason to meddle in the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. recently hinted that Terrence Howard's rapid decline in Hollywood after Iron Man had more to do with industry politics than any pay dispute. And shockingly, he pointed the finger at Clive Davis. Downey Jr. revealed that Davis had some serious influence behind the scenes and that his involvement may have been far more personal. Howard had a long-standing connection with Robert Downey Jr., having played a key role in helping him secure his iconic role as Tony Stark. Howard stood by RDJ when no one else in Hollywood would touch him due to his past troubles.
I love Robert. I love what he does. I loved him in Weird Science.
Terrence went to bat for Downey, ensuring his audition for Tony Stark was a success. Without Howard's backing, there's a good chance Downey wouldn't have become Iron Man at all. But then, in the middle of Howard's pay dispute, something changed, and suddenly, Downey was nowhere to be found. Calls went unanswered, texts were ignored. Howard tried to reach out to his former friend over 27 times, and every attempt was met with radio silence.
I'm calling Robert Downey Jr. I'm calling him.
In an emotional reflection, Howard recalled bumping into Downey Jr. years later at a wedding, only for RDJ to brush him off, saying, "Everything worked out for you."
That broke me a little bit.
But did it really? What could have caused such a rift between two men who had each other's backs from the beginning? Howard believes it was Clive Davis pulling the strings, and Robert Downey Jr. has all but confirmed it. At the time, Davis was positioning himself to break into the film industry and allegedly had his eye on partnerships that aligned with Marvel's growing cinematic empire. Insiders claim Davis wasn't just looking at Marvel from the sidelines, he was influencing key decisions. The relationship between Susan Downey, Robert's wife, and the industry power players could have given Davis just the leverage he needed to influence Robert's decisions.
They had an agenda.
Yeah.
Because remember, at the same time, they were calling me a wife beater and all of those things. And then I put out the video.
Terrence Howard was expendable, a pawn in a bigger game. And Robert? Robert may have been coerced into playing along with Davis's plans, despite his loyalty to his former co-star. Whether it was through blackmail, threats, or career promises, Clive had a way of making his agenda come to life, and the MCU was just another chessboard for him to manipulate. The deeper question is, why would Davis want Howard out of the MCU in the first place? Was it a matter of securing future opportunities for Don Cheadle, who had connections in the industry that benefited Davis? Or was it simply Davis flexing his power, showing that he could sway decisions at the highest levels of Hollywood? Whatever the reason, the outcome was clear. Howard was ousted, and Downey Jr., stuck between a rock and a hard place, had to betray the very man who had once saved his career. Terrence Howard's Hollywood career has been a roller coaster, at times soaring to great heights, and at other times crashing into controversy. From his Academy Award-nominated performance in Hustle and Flow to the starring role as Lucius Lyon in the hit show Empire, Howard has never shied away from the spotlight. But despite his undeniable talent, there's always been a shadow following him, his reputation for being difficult to work with.
They had to spin, oh, he was terrible on set and all of these things, and went through all this stuff.
And now, Robert Downey Jr. has hinted that there may have been far more sinister forces at play, with none other than Clive Davis pulling the strings. Howard has since been branded as difficult, with multiple sources describing him as quick to anger and uncompromising when things don't go his way. An unnamed executive even told the New York Post that Howard's temper was notorious on set. But is this reputation a result of his passionate nature, or was it manufactured as part of a smear campaign orchestrated by powerful forces like Clive Davis? In a reflective interview with the New York Times, Howard shared an incident from his early career on The Cosby Show that might give us a glimpse into his strong-headed nature. At just 19 years old, Howard confronted Bill Cosby directly after learning that his small role had been cut from the show. He demanded dignity and respect, something that would cost him, as the casting agent refused to work with him again.
I had an opportunity to go and be on The Cosby Show, and I remember walking around it and watching Bill Cosby.
This pattern of defiance followed him throughout his career. Was it simply passion, or did Hollywood elites paint Howard as a troublemaker to keep him in line? Howard's frustrations with the industry didn't end there. Despite his monumental success on Empire and his roles in high-profile films like The Butler, Howard's name rarely comes up in the same breath as other Hollywood stars of his caliber. And now Robert Downey Jr.'s revelations suggest that Clive Davis may have played a much bigger role in this than anyone realized. Why would a music mogul like Davis want to push Howard out of the MCU? Some speculate that it was all about power. Davis, with his vast influence, wanted to show that he could control not just the music industry, but Hollywood as well. It's no secret that Davis had ambitions beyond music. His ability to manipulate the careers of some of the biggest stars, like Howard, may have been part of a grander scheme to extend his reach into cinema.
They wanted Clive Davis to play.
But all of this at what cost? Howard's exit from Iron Man marked the beginning of years of controversy, and it's no coincidence that Robert Downey Jr. remained silent for so long. Only now, years later, has Downey begun hinting at the pressures he faced from Davis, pressures that led to his betrayal of Howard. On the other hand, Terrence Howard's departure from the MCU has long been shrouded in controversy, with whispers of pay disputes and professional tensions between him and Robert Downey Jr. at the center of the storm. Howard's brief tenure as James "Rhodey" Rhodes in the first Iron Man film was followed by his abrupt exit before Iron Man 2, leading to Don Cheadle stepping into the role. Many attributed this to a contractual dispute over pay, but Howard himself has pointed to a deeper betrayal, one involving not just Downey but powerful figures behind the scenes. In a 2015 interview with Rolling Stone, Howard directly blamed Downey for his exit from the MCU. According to Howard, a pay dispute over the Iron Man sequel, combined with a lack of support from Downey Jr., led to his dismissal from the role and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And guess who got the millions I was supposed to get? Downey Jr. got the whole franchise, so I've actually given him $100 million, which ends up being a $100 million loss for me from me trying to look after somebody. He further revealed that, despite their friendship and his role in helping Downey secure the part of Tony Stark, when Howard's contract was renegotiated, Downey did not step in to support him.
I'm calling Robert Downey Jr. I'm calling him.
But this isn't just a story of financial fallout, as Robert hinted at an even more complex dynamic behind Howard's departure, implicating Clive Davis. Downey's comments suggest that Davis, a mogul with vast influence, may have played a role in pushing Howard out, using his power to manipulate key players within the entertainment industry. Howard's struggles on the Iron Man set were well documented. Reports from Entertainment Weekly described tensions between Howard and director Jon Favreau, as well as dissatisfaction with Howard's performance, which led to reshoots. Howard was also, at the time, the highest-paid actor in the film, a rare occurrence for a supporting role. This fueled speculation that Marvel Studios saw an opportunity to cut costs, with Don Cheadle ultimately replacing Howard in the sequels. However, Howard has long maintained that the pay dispute was not just about money. It was about loyalty. But behind the glittering success of Hollywood lies a darker reality. Howard has suggested that those who try to stand up against industry practices often find themselves pushed out, forced to comply with powerful executives. While Howard's version of events paints a picture of betrayal and manipulation, Robert's recent comments add a new layer to the story, one that points to the unseen influence of Clive Davis, a figure whose presence in this drama raises more questions than answers. Could Clive Davis, a mogul with no direct ties to the MCU, have exerted enough influence to force Robert Downey Jr. into abandoning Howard? And if so, why?
Nobody wants to take that clear path. They kind of want to, they want it funky. They want to kind of thrive off.
In Hollywood, dark and manipulative tactics are often hidden behind the glitz and glamour. Terrence Howard's exit from the MCU may just be another example of how powerful forces pull strings behind the scenes, much like stories shared by insiders like Smart Guy, who detailed how artists in Hollywood were coerced into compromising situations and later blackmailed to secure their fame. The situation between Howard, Downey, and Davis seems eerily similar. If we draw parallels to the industry practices Smart Guy described, it's possible that Davis's influence over Downey wasn't just professional. It could have involved coercive tactics to ensure that Downey turned his back on Howard. Just like artists being blackmailed with recordings of compromising situations, Davis may have wielded similar leverage over Downey, forcing him to abandon his loyalty to Howard and leave him out in the cold.
Because they trying to drug you, so you be in a studio session late at night, and they'll see if you a meatball, yo bro, here, hit this blunt.
If the artist got famous and had the position, they would have the recording, and they could use it to trap them in a contract.
If she drugs you, you get gangbanged and raped, they blackmail you. I mean, it's a lot of, the game has evolved. That was what they did back then. Now, it's a little different.
Howard himself has suggested that exposing the power dynamics in Hollywood often comes with a price. In this case, it seems that he was the one who paid it, losing a role, a friendship, and potentially millions of dollars in the process. With Downey now alluding to these darker forces, it raises the question, was Howard's exit from the MCU simply about money, or was it part of a much larger, more sinister game orchestrated by Clive Davis and other Hollywood power players? As Downey Jr. ascended to superstardom, Howard's world crumbled. His role was recast in Iron Man 2, and he became embroiled in a scandalous divorce and domestic violence allegations that seemed to further tarnish his reputation.
They had an agenda.
Yeah.
Because remember, at the same time, they were calling me a wife beater and all of those things. And then I put out the video.
Howard's career wasn't just derailed by contract disputes. His personal life has been mired in controversy. In one of the most explosive revelations during his appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, Howard opened up about how he was wrongfully labeled a wife beater, a reputation that he says has haunted him for years.
She took those pictures herself, and she was blackmailing me for years.
According to Howard, the accusations came from a woman who blackmailed him for years using private recordings. The woman, whom Howard had once trusted enough to bring into his home, allegedly faked injuries and used doctored photos as proof of abuse. This, combined with her ability to access Howard's most intimate recordings, including tapes of his late mother, left him devastated. The actress reportedly manipulated these tapes to exert control over him, and he claims that she destroyed the recording of his mother's last words. She destroyed that. She She destroyed my name, Howard lamented.
I paid her whatever money she wanted. She destroyed that. She destroyed my name.
But that wasn't the end of it. Howard's history of domestic violence accusations dates back to 2001 when he was arrested for assaulting his first wife, Lori McComas. According to court documents, Howard broke down Lori's front door and hit her twice after a heated phone argument. And when Howard tied the knot with Michelle Gent in 2010, things escalated quickly. Just 1 year into their marriage, Gent accused Howard of domestic violence, even filing a restraining order against him. Despite showing up to court with a black eye, Howard denied the allegations, claiming that he was simply trying to defend himself when she attacked him with mace. Howard has admitted to some violent behavior in his relationships, once confessing, "She was talking to me real strong and I lost my mind and slapped her in front of the kids." Yet, he still maintains that many of the accusations are either exaggerated or outright fabrications. While some have been quick to write Howard off as a toxic figure, others believe that his talent as an actor and his own troubled past make him a more complex figure than the public gives him credit for. Howard didn't stop at personal grievances. He has been vocal about what he sees as Hollywood's agenda to emasculate black men. According to Howard, black actors are being pressured into more effeminate roles if they want to succeed in the industry, and he's not having it. In a scathing critique of Hollywood, Howard said, "My daddy taught me never to take the vertebrae out of your back or the base out of your throat. I ain't raising sheep. I raise men." This claim isn't unique to Howard. Black comedians and actors like Dave Chappelle and Eddie Griffin have long accused Hollywood of forcing black men into cross-dressing or feminized roles to make them more palatable to white audiences. Chappelle, in particular, famously refused to wear a dress during the production of a Martin Lawrence movie and later left Hollywood altogether, citing this type of pressure as one of the reasons. Howard sees this as part of a broader trend to strip black men of their masculinity, pointing to his own experiences as proof. When he was replaced by Don Cheadle as Rhodey in Iron Man 2, many speculated that it wasn't just about money, it was about control. According to Howard, Marvel wanted to sideline a strong, outspoken black man in favor of someone who would be more compliant. Fans also believe that this racism should be stopped now in the Hollywood industry and support Terrence wholeheartedly. One of them wrote, "The racism is showing when someone says they don't allow black men to be masculine and ultra-famous. Wrong on every single level. Every famous white man has been made to wear a dress as well. Like how we couldn't have Harry Styles be a muscular, handsome, powerful white guy who is ultra-famous, so we made him wear dresses to his concerts." If the MCU saga and domestic violence accusations weren't enough, Terrence Howard also has a long-standing beef with none other than Oprah Winfrey. Rumor has it that Oprah and Howard once had a romantic fling during the filming of The Butler. Howard, never one to hold back, even gushed in interviews about how much he loved kissing Oprah, saying, "What me and Oprah shared, we looked into each other's eyes and I saw the little girl in her." Apparently, Oprah wasn't too pleased with Howard airing out their alleged personal history, and things reportedly went south after that. Soon after that, Howard claims that Oprah tried to blacklist him in Hollywood, and now he believes she's doing the same to his longtime friend and co-star, Taraji P. Henson. Taraji deserves to shine in her own right, but Oprah's immense power can overshadow that. It's frustrating for fans to think that Taraji might be feeling like she has to hold back or sugarcoat her experience. If Taraji ever decides to break her silence, it could turn into a major revelation about the pressures of working with someone as influential as Oprah. According to sources close to Howard, he's convinced that Oprah is behind Henson being blackballed from certain projects after she spoke out about pay inequality and her treatment while filming The Color Purple. Howard's feud with Oprah even extends back to when Monique publicly called out Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Lee Daniels for blackballing her in Hollywood. Howard sided with Monique, even though it put him at risk of losing his role on Empire, which was produced by Daniels. That loyalty has sparked rumors that Howard has even more dirt on Oprah that he's willing to spill if she doesn't back off from blacklisting Henson. Amid all this controversy, one person who seems to have Howard's back is none other than 50 Cent. After hearing that Howard was only paid $122,000 for his Oscar-nominated role in Hustle and Flow, 50 Cent took to social media, promising to help Howard get the money he's owed. "I need the best actors and I'm going to pay them," 50 Cent said, throwing shade at Paramount for not paying Howard residuals for the Hustle and Flow soundtrack. 50 Cent's support comes at a time when Howard is also suing his former talent agency, CAA, for breach of fiduciary duty. Howard claims that the agency didn't fight hard enough for him to get a fair salary on Empire because they had a conflict of interest representing both him and the producers. According to Howard, this was just another example of Hollywood institutions working against him for their own financial gain. Meanwhile, Downey Jr. finds himself reflecting on his choices, with whispers about his regrets in betraying a friend echoing in the halls of Hollywood. The influence of Clive Davis remains a contentious topic, and the industry is rife with tales of manipulation and coercion that continue to unfold. Well, fans also have their opinion on the situation at hand, as one of them came up to support Terrence regardless of how his acting career is struggling, commenting, "Honestly, all this smuggling of his acting career is not going to hurt him at all. He is a great guy and a genius, so much so that the universe gave him the keys to the universe. So go ahead and try and make him look bad all you want. Terrence will end up controlling the world and I would stand by him. He is a light being and will transform this world and take it back from these devil worshippers. God bless him." Some are too disappointed on their Iron Man for betraying his friend. "I'm disappointed in Robert. He didn't repay the favor." Others raging on Hollywood elites like Clive for exploiting their power. Curses on Clive and Doug Davis. Their entire lineage is cursed. As the dust settles, both Downey Jr. and Howard face the consequences of their actions. Will Howard expose the industry's dirty secrets, or will Downey Jr. continue to thrive in the MCU, leaving Howard as a cautionary tale of what happens when friendships are sacrificed for success? Only time will tell. That's it for today, folks. Until next time, goodbye.